All right, we're live.
Woohoo!
As I finish my lunch and you talk about Irish soda bread.
Yeah, the Irish soda bread that you cannot make into a perfect ball. You have to flatten it out, as it turns out.
Does it rise still?
No, you don't rise it or anything. You mix it up and then you bake it.
But does it rise when it's baking?
No.
No?
No, it's not all. Well, maybe a little bit, but not enough to notice.
So it's a flatbread?
Pretty much.
Is it any good, or is it like dense as cedar?
It's actually really good. It is a bit dense. It kind of reminds me of like pita bread.
Okay.
Which is a flatbread.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a dense bread, but it's really tasty.
Okay.
Sorry. I need to answer this.
Okay. Well, we're live. She was supposed to carry the show there, but she's wandered off to a telephone. Well,
okay, I'm on my show right now, so can I call you back? Okay, bye.
And she didn't mute her mic completely.
I didn't mute the mic completely?
No.
Ah, the button on the mic doesn't work. That was supposed to mute it.
No. Well, at least we caught nothing important, so it's all good.
No, there is nothing important. It's just sometimes when particular people call, if you don't answer, they keep calling. And they don't stop calling.
Yeah.
Until you answer. So I've learned with some people, just answer. Hi, MD, and good to see you.
There we go. I have food in my belly.
That's probably a good way to have it.
Well, yeah. Better than all over you, or all over somewhere else, or or sitting off to the side and just watching it.
Also, it works better than wearing it as a hat. Do not wear food as a hat. It doesn't stay.
You could turn a sourdough loaf into a hat.
That would be a really gooey hat. Ew.
My sourdough bread's getting better and better.
Oh, yeah. You've been making it for years now.
Well, no, I've been perfecting it lately. I've been perfecting making buns. And, well, yesterday was my first time at making hot dog buns, which they came out sort of hot dog bun shaped. And they're long enough for the big giant hot dogs. And, except that they didn't rise very well, but that's because I got to change the towel I use to go over the top to keep the dough moist while it's rising, because, you got to rise. Sourdough needs to rise about 4 to 6 hours.
We used to have like a warming cupboard for making dough and rising bread and stuff.
Well, yeah, that was back when we used to have the kitchen as the center of our lives. Now people think the kitchen is like an evil place to avoid for some reason. Like, no, that's where life comes from, is the kitchen.
I remember when I was younger, in school, had a project. We were supposed to dream up a house. I dreamed up a house and it was round. And like the center of the house was this kitchen with like 3 fires around it. It was actually pretty cool.
That's a nice design, actually.
Yeah.
You think about it, if you got the fires in the middle of it, heating everything up, all the rooms around the outer edge will get the heat from the kitchen, and everybody comes to the kitchen, and that's where, life happens. So, yeah, that's actually kind of cool.
It was basically a giant donut. It was a cool building. I have no idea how that would actually be done, though.
Well, I'm sure with the right kind of architectural input, it could be done. There's probably stuff out there similar to that already.
Round houses. Well, I mean, there's hobbit houses, but hobbit houses have a round door and round windows.
No, kitchen's the most important thing in a house.
I do agree with that. I have to admit, I have gone through these images and old commercials for kitchens from the 20s and 30s and 40s. Their kitchens were beautiful.
Oh God, the kitchens
were so gorgeous.
They were functional, highly functional.
There was places to put your cookbooks everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. I mean, I stand my cookbooks up, or like I mostly print out my recipe and then like use magnets to attach it to the fan thing.
Yeah, well, I know, but yeah, their kitchens were functional. They had bins against the counters for everything.
Oh yeah.
You know, no space was wasted. Nowadays, our kitchens, the spaces are just a total waste. They're just absolutely useless. Hey, we got more peoples here.
Yeah, Hendian said.
Yeah.
When I moved to Victoria, I was shocked that kitchens and apartments seem like an afterthought. They barely even qualify as kitchens.
Yes,
I absolutely agree.
They are an afterthought. In my apartment here, my kitchen is an absolute afterthought.
Oh yeah. It's like, oh yeah, we kind of have to make a place for them to cook food. Here you go.
Mm-hmm. Here's a little teeny tiny stove. Here's a little teeny tiny fridge. Here's 2 teeny tiny countertops with a sink, and that's really all you get.
Old stoves from the 1800s with like 6 ovens. Heck yeah.
Yeah, those would be nice too. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, everybody's lining up.
Every time I go dreaming about like pretty kitchens that are functional, I always end up coming across a wood burning stove, like ovens and stuff, and they've got the stove on top, and then like 2 or 3 ovens, and then a spot where you can build the fire.
Oh yeah,
they're so pretty
and so functional. All right, well, it looks like people were lining up to listen to the show today. Good to see everyone showing up.
It really is nice to have people joining us.
It is pre-stream time, folks, so and we've just hit the point where it's time for a little bit of music to carry us to the real show. So let's carry it on.
These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. A quarter after midnight, and I'm watching the wall. Sometimes I feel so uptight, I just can't sleep at all. Every day doing the same old thing, we're losing time. The weekend comes, we gotta have some fun and rewind. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. I feel the rope tightening, choking off our air. We need to grab some lightning. Friday's almost here. Caught in a web, we need to cut this thread we're hanging by. Where is it said you have to be half dead to survive? These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder.
Alrighty then, it must be time.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for WordPress Plugins A to Z, not Z.
It's episode 638, and we have plugins for SEO, or no, so much SEO, and bulk taxonomy, and some WordPress news, all coming up on WordPress Plugins from A to Z. WordPress. It's the most popular content management and website solution on the internet. And with over 80,000 plugins to choose from, how do you separate the junk from the gems? Join us for a weekly, unrehearsed conversation about the latest and greatest in WordPress plugins. This is WordPress Plugins from A to Z. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be hiding out there on the globe today. Coming to you direct from the brewery overlooking beautiful southern Vancouver Island. I'm John Overall, and with me is the ever-lovely
Amber Overall.
And we have a usual great show for you today with just a few tickety-tockety-boo stuff over there at the beginning of the show. If you go listen to the pre-stream, we were rambling on about cooking, kitchens, food, eating, all that wonderful things in life that you really need to keep going. All that being said, I really don't have much to ramble on about, so...
Thank you for sharing, John. Now get down from that soapbox.
Welcome to episode 638, Surreal WordPress Plugins and SEO Strategies. We got a couple of great in-depth plugins to cover for you, some recent news in both the WordPress world and the tech world in general, and some awesome WordPress tips. Oh, I finally got my answer about AGA. We were talking about all kinds of different things in the chat as well for anyone who just got here. And AGA was oil burning, had 3 ovens, each permanently a different temperature and always on, so no waiting for the oven to warm up. That sounds brilliant. All right, so now I know what an AGA is. Oh, hopefully everyone is getting ready for Christmas. We are officially in the season. I know last show we were getting close to season. I was feeling a bit grumpy because Christmas was already invading the house. Well, now we're definitely in the season, so I can't be grumpy anymore. Something I learned last week, though, is Costco apparently has amazing amounts of traffic, even on like Monday morning. So when I asked a fellow who worked there, he said that it was actually pretty normal. Apparently everyone thinks that no one is going to go shopping at Costco for Christmas gifts. So everybody flocks there to go Christmas shopping. So I figured I'd share this with everyone. Keep in mind, if you think that nobody is shopping there, it is very likely that everyone is shopping there. So maybe try places where you think everyone is, and you'll end up having less traffic. So far, it has worked for me. There is less traffic at Walmart than there is at Costco. So it's worth a shot.
If you want to go to Walmart.
Well, you know what? To avoid that kind of crowd,
I still wouldn't go to Walmart.
Well, a few reminders before we start the show today. Show starts at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time every other week on Monday. You can join in for the pre-stream. There's often some kind of entertainment going on. Today we were talking about cooking in stoves, wood burning stoves, oil burning stoves, and that starts about 12:15ish. You'll find the show notes on the homepage, wppluginsa.com, within 24-ish hours of every show. This is a value for value show, so you can help us out by hitting some like buttons, sharing an episode or two, or just crank up the show when you're listening to it and lovingly force others around you to listen to us. I'll bet they'll like it too. And don't run away at the end, as we do have some awesome Q&A coming up. Sometimes there are questions specifically for people who have a little experience in the industry, but more often than not, it's for people who are kind of newer to the industry to answer some of those questions that you may not even realize you're wondering about. And our artist today is Grok.
As usual.
Really cool picture.
It is. Yeah. He created an interesting image for me, so I decided to keep it.
Sorry, I just got lost in reading everything that Hemdian wrote. I would love to have an AGA. I don't know what the AGA stands for, but the entire thing sounds really awesome. All right, so we would love to have some new art from our producers out there. If you are finding that you're feeling kind of motivated, like your artistic juices are starting to flow, get some art out and send it in to us. We'll put it up here. You'll get credit for it and everything.
Hey, go get the AI to create you some art and send it to us. We may use it.
Only use the art generative AI though, because otherwise it's probably going to be copyright. Just saying, there's a big thing going on with art generators right now. We know that Grok is a generation that is not copyright, because Grok has that written into his code. But a lot of the AIs that have been developed that aren't developed for art creation are doing a lot of copywriting, and it's pissing off a lot of artists. So make sure it's an actual proper generative AI.
Okay.
And for news today.
Oh, yes, it's news time.
Please, can everybody be quiet? Please be quiet. Shut up! And now the news with Amber.
So as always, first up, we have the WordPress Vulnerability Report from Solid WP. Now, in this report, there are 200 vulnerabilities. At this point, 120 of them have been patched. Uh-oh, I gave you the wrong one. I forgot to replace the link again.
Oh, I can't help you then. Just keep going.
Okay, well, for the most recent vulnerability report, there are 200 plugin vulnerabilities. At this point, 120 of them have been patched. So be sure to go check out the proper link, which for the show notes, the proper link will be put up here. Sorry about that. Next up, we have WordPress Vulnerability Report from PatchStack. These guys always have the latest information on what is going on regarding latest vulnerabilities. At the time of writing this, the most recent issue was from 7 hours ago and is a cross-scripting vulnerability in Fluent form.
No, they found a new one in contact form by WP Forms.
Seems to be forms that are getting a big attack right now.
Not an attack, they're just discovering issues.
Same thing. For the purposes of this conversation, same thing.
No.
You can correct me later.
Two different things. Attack and discovering issues are two different things.
All right. Next up, we have Gutenberg's latest changelog. What's new in 19.5 and how it shapes your WordPress. So 19.5 seems to be an improvement on the 19.4 pretty much overall. There's a lot more stability, and there's a lot more stability that's been added to the already existing features. And it was launched on October 23rd and has new features of its own as well. One of the things that it has that is its own is we used to have write and design mode, but it was we have a write and design mode previously known as edit and select. That has been changed for those who are kind of unsure about what's changed and what's not. Custom labels for block variants has come to the fore. That wasn't an option before. Now you can actually label the variants. And comment and query block previews, when you hover over them, it actually pops up to tell you what it's called, which is really useful. There's been a lot of major bug fixes, and a lot of the transitions are much smoother now. So from what I can tell, this is one of the better updates, giving you a lot of good, very few bugs and issues. I would love to hear back from some of our listeners out there who are actually using Gutenberg on a regular basis. Let me know what you think about this most recent update. Next up, we have some more drama.
Yay for WordPress drama.
So,
this is gonna go on for a couple of years though.
Oh yeah. Well, if you notice, I'm not really bringing all of the drama. I'm just bringing some important things now.
Yeah, this one's kind of important because the lead developer from BuddyPress who left the WordPress ecosystem entirely.
Yeah. Yeah, he actually uses something else now. He's completely transitioned over to a thing called Hugo from WordPress.
Yeah.
He did mention that this is actually something he's used before, but he ended up going back to WordPress because he got a job. But now he's completely removed himself. He's back on Hugo, just completely done. Yeah. If you are interested, I have linked here. His personal website gives a very long explanation of why he left and his reasons for doing so.
Yeah.
And
just mark it down to the drama.
Well, this drama, though, is important because it has actually started a bit of an exodus.
Mm-hmm.
There's been several prominent contributors: Bjorn Johansson, Carrie Dills, Andy Fragan, and Chris Weigman. Yeah. They've all just walked away at this point.
Yeah, which is a shame.
And they've removed their plugins, too. This is the beginning of an exodus.
Mm-hmm.
So be aware of what's going on.
It is a shame. And unfortunately, the WordPress ecosystem will continue for quite a few years because it has so much momentum right now. But in the end, it'll collapse on itself eventually. But enjoy the ride while we can, folks.
Well, the next one we have here is WP Shout followed the first hearing in the WP Engine versus Automatic lawsuit, so that we ourselves did not have to. I really like the way they wrote this out. This is actually very good. They took everything that they could get information on, because they weren't actually there physically themselves, but they were able to get as much information as possible. And they actually took legalese, broke it down, told you what's actually going on. And then they also tell you a little bit of how this is going to affect you very likely. So in this, really, all in all, they're just arguing in front of a judge. That's really what it comes down to. If you want to read more, I do highly recommend you go and read these guys. I did also link in WP Tavern's take on this. So,
yeah, it's good to know what's happening and how it's going to impact the community, because some of these, they haven't, as far as I know, the judge hasn't released their judgments yet.
No, what they've said right now is they want them to stop changing anything. Don't change anything, just freeze. Yeah. And they're going to come back to this, because right now what's happening is both sides are making arguments. But part of the problem is that why did I forget their name?
WP Engine?
Yeah, there we go. WP Engine didn't actually make themselves clear enough.
Yeah.
And they weren't able to make their entire thing specific enough. So the judge was like, well, it's too broad. I can't do anything with this. Yeah. And then, Automatic is saying, well, yeah, I did all these things, but it wasn't technically illegal. And the judge, I feel like the judge is presiding over toddlers right now.
Well, they are presiding over toddlers. I mean, come on, that's really what it is. It's two major corporations throwing a fit at each other over things. But the problem is in the end, it's going to have a dramatic impact on the community, depending on what side the judge comes down on these decisions.
Exactly.
And there's also the thing that people are not overlooking in a lot of this stuff. They're overlooking the trademarks that Automatic is trying to get into place right now. And these arguments impact those trademarks.
Yeah, they do.
And those trademarks will impact businesses all the way down to the small business like us.
Which is why it's a very good idea to keep on top of this as much as you can.
Yeah, just ignore all the drama, but pay attention to the legal aspects of it.
Yeah, find places like WP Shout that can actually explain the legalese in basic terms, so that you have a easier time understanding what they're actually talking about.
Yeah. One of the big things in it is the use of the WP prefix in domains and everything. That's that's part of what this boils down to, is the use of that WP prefix, which has been allowed for 16 years.
Which is going to impact so many companies.
Mm-hmm. Tons of them, like WP Shout for one.
Yeah. Yep. So the last thing I have on here today is about the Geminid meteor shower. It peaks this week.
Oh, yay. We're going through that area. Dark matter time again.
It's so pretty when you can get away from the city lights. I mean, if you can get far enough out there, you can see up to 120 meteors per hour. It's amazing.
If you're lucky enough to have a clear night on it, too.
Yeah. Well, also, we have a full moon here. So it's going to cause a little bit more of an issue. But, well, okay, not quite full, but almost full. That may cause a little bit of an issue in seeing, even if you can get away and we do have a clear sky. Yeah. But it's possible.
Yeah. Well, this is the remnants of a major comet that passed by us a long time ago.
Yeah, and if anybody's interested in learning a little bit more in depth about this, you can follow this link and they give you the proper history for it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of extras here for people who are interested. And now to Rogue's Corner.
Oh, yeah. I don't have a sound for that one yet.
Glitch.
There you go. Basically a glitch. All right. First off, I have a note here to Hemdian. And this is about the cookie plugin you asked about last show. It's the one that I didn't like and was creating problems. It's called Cookie Notice and Compliance for GDR CCPA.
Yeah, that one does cause issues.
And that was one that I was using in multiple places, and now replacing it with Cookie Yes. So now you know. All right. So you can have fun with that one, Hamdian. Okay. The other thing here, through my digging and diving, I discovered a new WordPress repository of sorts. Somebody's trying to create a better WordPress repository.
I agree with this.
And I was looking it over, and it's not too bad. They've got 60,000 plugins and counting in there. There is no direct access to download them from the back end of your WordPress as of yet that I'm aware of. They may have something like that. That would put them one step closer. Is, hey, download this plugin. Now you can download all the WordPress plugins from our repository instead of elsewhere. They also have premium plugins that they're selling or linking off to. It's a whole lot of information. I was looking for something else and stumbled across this. It's called WP Hive, and it is kind of useful. I've reached out to the guys who created it. They're supposed to get back to me with some information about why they did this, what they're doing, and whatnot. They did respond back, said, we'll get back to you with something soon. Okay, well, whatever. And so, they want to help you find the plugins you're looking for, which is something that I can get behind. So go check it out, WP Hive. Another item I found out here is, this is something they do on the WP Hive, is you can compare plugins versus plugins. They run them on a live server with all the same details, and they'll tell you which plugin is running better, say Elementor versus Gutenberg. They'll tell you the memory usage, which one's using less memory, which pages are better. They give you the page speed loads. It seems, Gutenberg beats Elementor with page speed loads. They give you other criterias, their minimum impacts, their JavaScript issues, which there's some with Elementor. So they give you a lot of details. If you're looking to do two different plugins, you can go in there, throw those two plugins in, and they run them up on a comparison chart. So
that might actually be the most useful aspect of this.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool when I discovered that as I was tripping across their site to see what it could do. So that alone could be a major benefit for you.
Yeah, that alone, I'm definitely going to start using quite often.
Now, another little article item I tripped across was, have you ever had a mystery plugin disabling issue on your website? I can't say that I have, but I've heard of it. People are like, well, why'd my plugin disable? I have no idea. Did you disable it? Well, maybe they didn't. It seems there is a mystery problem out there that happens randomly on WordPress websites. So I'll blame it on the AI. Comes in, you know what? You don't need that anymore. I'm going to turn it off.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
It is an actual thing. And this article here gives you some really great information on how to track those plugins that are silently disabling themselves, and then giving you some reasons for plugin deactivations. The random deactivations. It could actually be something as simple as there's not enough memory allocated to your website on the server. And if a plugin doesn't get enough memory, it just turns itself off. So file permission errors, object caching, they give you some reasons, and then they help you some ideas on help track it down. I thought that would be a pretty cool thing to have happen.
Yeah.
And the final one is I have a tip for those dealing with Elementor and their irritating problems from time to time. One of the problems Elementor has from time to time, and it's not consistent anywhere. It's the paging of posts, or the load more posts, or the infinite scroll for posts. And having it repeat, say you have it set to 9 posts. It'll repeat the same 9 posts over and over and over. And I went back and forth with Elementor support for about a week. And they eventually came back and said, we know this exists. We can't seem to find it, fix it here on your site. We're going to kick it up to our developers, and we'll see if we can get it fixed in a future version of Elementor. Now, this problem, when you do research, this problem goes back 5 years or more.
Yeah. It's been going on for a while.
It goes on, and it comes and it goes, and it's not consistent. Like, we've had it happen on various websites we built. And the website starts out perfectly functional, and then all of a sudden it just starts not loading it.
It devolves.
through my research, I finally tripped across somebody on one of those coding websites that said, hey, I've run into something like this, and here's some code that fixes it. It doesn't actually fix it, but it helps you get around it. And what it does, you put a function into your functions file on your child theme. You are using a child theme, I hope. If you're not, you really made a mistake. So you put this function in there, or you could create a plugin for the functions file too if you don't use a child theme. But it's a nice, simple function, and what it does is it corrects a random 301 redirect, which is what this whole problem is. It's a random 301 redirect, and when you dump this code in there, it corrects that 301 redirect, and everything loads perfectly again. So I'm writing up an article on it right now. I haven't finished the article. That article will appear on the new website for WPPro-A-Z.com when it goes up. And the code will be there. In the meantime, if you want to email me, john@wppro.ca, and you want this chunk of code, I will email it to you because I couldn't even begin to tell you where I found it on the internet. It's like, it was one of those things that I'd probably had 20 tabs open, and it's like, oh, try this idea. This idea, not truly related, but it looks like it's related, which is the results of the internet. You'll find your solutions in the places you least expect to find them, provided your mind is open to them. So anyway, I thought that was a really good, useful tip to give everyone out there. So you can reach out to me with that for that information if you have Elementor and you have the load more issue.
Cool. I'm glad you found some to work around that. That is something that has been haunting us.
Yeah, well, I've got it. It's now permanently loaded into the child theme that we load up. Because I've been loading up every time I find a fix for Elementor issues like that. I put it into the child theme that we put on different websites when we start a new website in Elementor. So I know where to find it also later.
By the way, I don't know if you noticed this, but Hempian said thanks. That is indeed the one he's currently using and been bugging him lately.
Yep, there you go. Swap it out.
Yeah, Cookie Yes is actually really cool. In order to have it work fully, you do need to make an account, but it does work without making an account. Just doesn't work as well.
Yep. Okay, and I guess it is time for me to dig into the plugin of the day for me. All righty, what have I got for you here today? I have for you SEO Repair Kit, SEO Content Monitoring, GSC Integration, Easy Content Tracker, Keyword Tracking, SEO Rank Tracking plugin.
So much SEO.
Didn't we have a challenge talk last show finding a plugin with a really massively long titles?
Yes, but I got distracted by an awesome plugin that was sent in to us.
Well, there you go.
So I'm going to have to get you back next show.
This one, this one here, I saw this while hunting down something else. And it's like, well, that looks kind of interesting. And the biggest thing that caught my eye on it was the dealing with, not the keyword tracking, but fixing metadata on your images. I wasn't so worried about all the other bits and pieces. I didn't test all the other bits and pieces that it does. What I was more interested in is it has a thing in here for checking your images for missing metadata, and then one click take you to the image, adjust that metadata, and then you can go back. And it helps you find the images that are missing their metadata without a whole lot of grief and effort. And I used it, tested it, and it seems to be working well. I really like that function. Now they have several other functions in this, and I'm trying to remember them all now. It does a broken link check on your website. It works with Google Sitekit. If you load up the Google Sitekit plugin and you connect this up, it'll work with Google Sitekit to help you find Sitekit. That's a tongue twister. Sitekit. The Google Sitekit, which connects to your Google Search Console to help you find and fix the problems that Google Search Console is telling you about. So there's a lot of really useful features that I found in this. I haven't fully tested them all because I'm just beginning to do it. I'm applying it on my Oasis website where the SEO was a third thought or a fourth thought along the line when I was creating the website, but now it
was a theory.
Yeah, SEO was a theory when I built the site, but now I'm taking it seriously. So I'm using all these different tools to help me clean up the mess because the site's been running for several years now. And of course, that kind of mess takes a long time to clean up. It's easier if you start right from the get-go. So at any rate, and that, sort of sidelines into, if you want someone to do SEO for you, reach out to us. We now offer SEO, have been for almost 2 years now, to different clients, and we do a fantastic job of helping people out. All right, with that all being said, go check out the SEO Repair Kit. I'm not going to ramble on about all the rest. It's a really great plugin, and I give it a 5 Dragon rating.
So whenever I hear something that has a long name, but it seems to work pretty well, I think of that commercial, long name, amazing results.
Yeah, there you go. Long name, amazing results. That's pretty cool.
I'm so glad I get to hear the noises again. So some WordPress tips for everyone, or rather a WordPress tip at a time these days. We would love to hear some tidbit tips from some of our producers out there. What do you figure out by breaking something? Or what did you need to learn in order to help someone? You can send these tidbits in to me at amber@wppro.ca. My tip to you this week is regarding the all-nighter thing. I'm sure plenty of people out there have pulled an all-nighter, or plenty of all-nighters. I've pulled my fair share because, things kept me away from getting things done on time. So I had to do an all-nighter, or I got into something and then I realized that what I thought was a 3-hour job was actually a 15-hour job. We've all been there. We've all done it. However, something I've noticed is doing all-nighters is getting harder. And I'm pretty sure I'm probably not the only person who's noticed this. So what I've discovered for anyone who is about my age and starting to realize that pulling all-nighters is not as easy as it used to be, go to bed early and then wake up at stupid o'clock. Like 3 or 4 in the morning. Just go to bed early, wake up stupid o'clock early, and you'll actually find that you're a lot better off. You're not nearly as tired. You get a lot more done because you've already had the rest, and it's worth trying out. I mean, I admit I do like pulling all-nighters because, nothing is quite as beautiful as that shimmery sleep deprivation sight that you get. But, well, can't keep doing that forever. It's worth a shot if you have a lot of work that you suddenly need to get done. Just put yourself to sleep early, wake up at stupid o'clock, and I bet you'll find that you get a lot more work done. You feel a lot better, and it's worth it.
Yep. And that tends to happen to people as they start to approach their 40s.
Yep, I'm getting there.
Wait till you get into your mid to late 50s when you think, you know what, I can pull an all-nighter, and then you're wrecked for 3 days.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that one. I'm just learning to cope with this, not able to stay for 2 or 3 days at a time anymore. And also, I can't even drink coffee to fix it because all drinking too much coffee does now is give me heartburn. It's terrible.
There's problems with that. All right, with that enough being said, let's hear about your plugin.
All right. So this is Bulk Ad Taxonomy. This was a plugin that was sent in to us by one of our regular listeners. And it's pretty freaking awesome. And you can expect me to cover some more of these plugins. They're made by Sean DeWolf at, Web321.
Yep.
So once you download and activate this, you will need to go to the site web321.co in order to get this plugin, as it's not in the repository. Once you download and activate it, you will see it added into your plugin list, see it as activated, but there is no dashboard for this plugin. Instead, where you'll see this is anywhere where you can add a taxonomy. So you can go to posts, categories, go to Elementor under categories. You will see a box that says bulk ad terms. It's really cool. It shows up without any issue, runs really well, works really well, plays well with others. The way you use it is say you have a giant list of a whole bunch of categories you need to add. Like say you're doing a site that is talking about, I don't know, psychology and all the various aspects of psychology. Well, you can get an alphabetized list of all the different categories that are underneath of psychology, copy them, paste them into this, and they're all created for you. And then down the road, if you have to go and make more categories, you can add them in. And if you already have one of these categories, it will tell you, say, no, I only added one. The other 3 were denied because you didn't end up, because you already have them. It's really cool. Every time you add a category, you will see a note at the top saying terms added 11, terms skipped already existed 2. Like, say you're adding 13, that's what you would get if you had 2 that already existed. It's a very cool plugin, works real easy. The whole idea behind this was simplicity. Simplicity and efficiency. And I have to say, they definitely got both of those down pat. It is a super useful tool to have in your toolbox. I seriously wish I had access to this plugin about 4 years ago. There's a couple of sites we made that had a lot of categories that had to be added in. My goodness, this would have been fantastic. So not only does it keep you from adding any duplicates, it also helps you to keep things organized. Another cool thing about it is that it comes wrapped in translation functions. You don't have to worry about localization into other languages. So that is very useful and something that I've come across a couple times where I think it's a really interesting plugin. I end up downloading and activating it, and then it turns on. I can't really understand it because it's not very well translated, or it just didn't translate. Interesting experience, not something that's great though. As I mentioned before, it really does play well with others. It's very lightweight. Highly recommend you give this a go and see how it can help you out. I rate this at 5 dragons.
Very cool. There you go. All right. Well,
It's time to donate to WP Plugins A-Z.
So there are a lot of ways that you as our producers can utilize us as your tool to help yourself out and also help us at the same time. You can get a producership credit, do an interview, donate some time, talent, or treasure to us. You can do all kinds of things. If you're interested in finding out exactly what you can do, you can go to our site, wppluginsa.com, and on the left-hand side in our menu, you will see time, talent, or treasure. Click on that, and it'll take you to the page where you can find out everything you can do. Help us both out. You know, one of those scratch your back, I'll scratch yours. And we have some miscellaneous announcements here. Currently, we just have the next 5 WordCamps around the world. And if you're interested, you can go to centralwordcamp.org and check out the rest of them. If you're interested in finding WordPress meetups somewhere around the world, you can check it out at meetup.com. We have the link here in our show notes for you. And remember, show notes found at WP A-Z.com have a whole lot of extra information that is written in here that we just don't speak out loud, because otherwise the show would be like 2-3 hours long. So go check out our show notes to see what it is that's in here that we just don't say. If you decide to send us something, we do have our brick and mortar address, or you can reach out to us electronically. Today's plugins we covered were?
I covered up the SEO Repair Kit, SEO Content Monitoring, GSC Integration, Easy Content Tracker, Keyword Tracking, SEO Rank Tracking by Toronto Digits. It's a lightweight and secure, includes a variety of functions such as link scanning, missing image alt text detection, etc., and includes a key track feature. And I gave it a 5 dragon rating.
And I covered Bulk Ad Taxonomy by Web321. Direct Append, Duplicate Check, and Transient Storage. I also rated it at 5 dragons.
Very cool. All right, it is fun time.
It's question and answer time with John and Amber.
All right, so if anyone out there has any questions they'd like to have asked here on the show, you can send them in to me at amber@wppro.ca. We may never stop my dad again, but we can at least get some good conversation out of him. What?
Whatever. Go
Sitting there cackling?
Yes, I am.
So first question. Can you explain in easygoing, simple terms what the difference is between a domain name and web hosting and why a person needs both?
Okay, a domain name is your name of your website. WPPlugins A-Z.com. WP Pro A-Z host.com. theroguesoasis.com. Those are all your domain names. So you have to have an address or a house or a place. The web hosting is where you're going to put your house. It's like going down and buying a trailer to go camping in and having no place to park it or put it. So you got to have some place to put it. And having hosting also gives it an address, because domain names are not what is found on the internet. What is found is an IP address. The system that runs the internet, the DNS system, to give it as simple as I can without the long convoluted explanation of how it works, is they convert your domain name into an IP address and locate you on somebody's web server somewhere. So that's what the hosting is. The hosting is your place where you live, where your domain lives. It's like renting an apartment somewhere, or renting a mailbox somewhere, so you have an address. That's the difference between the two. One is an address, a place where it exists. The other is just a name. So does that make it any clearer, or is it still clear as mud?
This is a question that was asked to me, and I figured you'd be the best person to explain this, because you've explained this to many people over the years, and you have a great analogy with the post office. So.
Yeah. Well, it's one that I've been explaining since the dawn of the internet.
All right. The next one I have is, what should a person be looking for in a web hosting provider if they're just starting out with WordPress?
What they're looking for is, one, affordability. The other is reliability. How long have they been providing hosting services? The other is, how many websites are they, and is it still owned by the same company or the same people who started that hosting business, which is kind of hard to say with many of them. The biggest one is just check out the reviews on them, because there's, the reviews or referrals. But what you're looking for is the resources they offer you. They'll tell you, they don't tell you up front, they'll tell you in their terms of service, usually, the limitations on your hosting services. It's like almost all of the big guys that offer hosting, they start off, hey, get your web hosting for as little as $5 a month. Yeah, that's all well and good, provided you're not going to put anything up there more than a blog. The moment you actually start to add functionality to it, WordPress starts to use resources. Once it starts to use resources, you run up against their resource limitations. And as soon as you do that, your web page stops loading, it crashes, creates problems. You complain, they look at it, they go, you know what? They're not wrong. You just need to buy a bigger hosting package. And they'll keep selling you bigger and bigger hosting packages as you grow. So you'll very rapidly move from that $5 a month to $40, $50, $60, $100 a month for hosting. A lot of people don't realize that. So be aware of that sort of thing. It happens with even WP Engine. They are the most stingy on hosting on resources of anybody. I like the company for some of their plugins and other things they build, but I don't like them for their hosting services. I've never liked them from the get-go because of their limitations. And there's many companies that do that. So you want to look at what kind of limitations are going to be placed on your website. It's like hosting through WP Pro A-Z. We give you all the resources you need for your hosting account. We can't say without limitations, because that's impossible, because there are limitations based upon the servers. The server has max limitations for everything, but we make it fair, so where you're not limited in many, many ways, not in the same ways you are at other hosting providers. It's part of the reason why I started doing my own servers to begin with, was I had so many limitations on companies out there hosting. I went, you know what? I can't handle this. So I started a hosting business so that there were very few limitations. So that's what you want to do. You want to look for one that doesn't put too many restrictions on you. There are restrictions, and they are restrictions for a reason, to maintain the stability of the servers.
So reasonable restrictions. Reasonable
restrictions. You have to, because too much resources, the whole server comes down, and nobody's website loads.
So Hentin had a bit to say. Just on this real quick, the $5 per month site might still work, but a customer services keeps hassling you to upgrade and threatening to block access if you don't. Well, there's that issue too.
There's that issue too, because their whole goal is to sell you more and more stuff.
Yeah.
My goal is to just keep you as a client and keep you paying a reasonable fee so that you provide everything you need.
Make you happy.
Yeah, keep you happy. Keep you happy so you don't run away. And then I have a reliable source of income.
Exactly.
You know, and my fees are they're right in line with everyone else. You know, we have as little as $15 a month, as much as $40 a month. You know, we have 3 different basic plans, but that's for people. $15 a month is a nice, easy website that has minimal amounts of traffic and does lots of different things on it, to a business site, which you can have a e-commerce website and everything will work well, or you can have a premium business site where you've got a very busy e-commerce website.
So the other things that Henning said are, if you don't have a domain name, you can only access your site via an IP number, or sometimes your host domain plus a directory.
Yeah.
On the flip side, you can have multiple domains pointing to the same site. So kind of like having multiple houses using the same PO box building.
Yeah, or having multiple businesses with the same PO box, or having multiple things going to the same mailbox. You know, having a dozen people living in a house all getting email or all getting their mail at the same address.
That makes sense.
You know, that's you can have. There is problems with the multiple domains. Google kind of freaks out from time to time.
Yeah, it does.
You know, I'm running into that right now because I have multiple domains pointing to the Rogues Oasis, and I've got a couple of them that are tagged as toxic domains. And I'm thinking, okay, why is this a toxic domain?
Because Google doesn't like you.
Yeah, it's like I don't get it. I don't get some of the things that they do, but yeah.
All right, well, that's it for the first 2 questions. I have 2 more for after the closing credits.
Yep. All right. For those of you listening to downloads, this is where you're going to have to wander on over to the YouTubes and check us out there and catch the end of the show stuff. So let our girl take us on out of here.
Reminders for the show. All show notes can be found at wppluginsa-z.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the newsletter for more useful information delivered directly to your inbox. WP Plugins A-Z is a show that offers honest and unbiased reviews of plugins created by developers because you support the show. Help keep the show honest and unbiased by going to wppluginsaz.com/donate and set the donation level that fits your budget. Help us make the show better for you by subscribing and reviewing the show at Stitcher Radio, Google Play, and in the iTunes Store. You can also leave us a review on our Facebook page using wppluginsaz.com/Facebook. You can also watch the show live on YouTube, check out the screencasts and training videos, and remember to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications of all new videos. Follow the show on Twitter at WPPluginsA-Z. John can also be reached at his website, johnoverall.com, or email him directly, john@wppro.ca. Thanks for joining us and have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the show. This show is copyright by johnoverall.com. So until next time, have yourselves a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be out there on the globe today.
Alrighty.
So I got 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
First one, can you list 3 basic SEO things that someone could do for them, or could do themselves on their own site, that they should be doing from the very beginning when building a site from scratch in order to help them down the road? Like, what are 3 things that would have helped you a lot if you had just done those 3 things with Rogues Oasis?
Oh, the first one would have been actually putting metadata into my images. Yeah, that's a big one. Is metadata?
It really is, isn't it?
It is.
It seems to be one of the main things that needs to be done, and like, it doesn't get done.
It's due to simply being lazy, is what it's due for. There is no other excuse for it. It's because you're being lazy when you're first uploading all your content. It's like, shit, I put the image.
Or you're in a rush. That's the reason too.
It's lazy and rush, same bloody thing. But yeah, that's the big one. The other is making sure that when you set your website up, you set up your H tags correctly and you use them appropriately. You know, that is another big one. And the other one is creating excerpts for every one of your posts.
That is another big one, yeah.
Because, you know, everyone is so dependent upon the auto excerpt, they don't realize that Google will actually use the excerpt itself, not an auto excerpt. It'll use your excerpt. So when you create your excerpt, create it a little differently than what the auto excerpt will create. Because the auto excerpts that are created for your initial display of posts, it just takes from the first paragraph of text. So you could create something that's a little bit different but says the same thing in your excerpt. Now, you could use that custom excerpt in other ways too. So those are three basic things. There's way more, but those are three basic things. The other one is to install a really good SEO plugin. Stop using Yoast.
I recommend Rank Math.
Rank Math, I switched to it a couple of years ago when it first came out, when I was pissed off at Yoast, and then somehow I got drawn back into Yoast. And I was liking it again, and I hadn't dug down. Rank Math has improved dramatically in the last year or so, and they offer up so much more in their free version than Yoast does for you to do and accomplish. So those are some things to do. There are many other things to do. Choose your plugins wisely. And then you'll look at the tools. Like, I've started to use a couple of new tools in my plugins, such as the Google Site Kit, you know, because that connects and helps you manage things, and it works hand in hand with your SEO plugin. So,
Hey, don't be afraid to try new tools. Just because you haven't needed it before doesn't mean you won't need it, or that wouldn't make your life easier. You may not even need stuff, but at least give it a go. It might just make your life easier.
Yeah, it could very well. Could very well. You never know what you're going to get.
You know, I had an interesting experience with my older daughter. She was doing some research on invasive plant species, and she was confused because she found this little blurb about red huckleberry. Well, it wasn't a red huckleberry image. It was like a deerberry image. And then when she went to the site, there was no image of red huckleberry there's no image of deerberry to be seen on the article. It was red huckleberry image on the article. I think, though, like, I hadn't thought about this before, but I think that maybe setting a featured image might be a good option too for when Google does the yoinking of your information. Because I'm wondering if maybe the featured image, if it will grab that instead of any other image on your site. Because we know that Google grabs random images, but there hasn't really been a proper pattern established of where it grabs images from before.
Yeah. Okay. That answers that.
Okay, and the last one I have here is when the site starts slowing down, what are some things to do to help it back to its previous speed?
Okay, well, I'm working with that issue exactly right now with the Oasis website.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason my site started slowing down was I chose the wrong theme to begin with, and then I yanked that theme out of there. And it turns out that I have all kinds of crap left over. And the biggest one I'm working through, and this will be an article that I'll be producing also, is what to do when your site's gotten old and you've done things like changed out your theme, turfed out plugins that you realized were useless, brought in new plugins and other things. It turns out, and it's been true for a very long time, actually, and I've probably made mention of this in years past, in that not every plugin cleans up after itself when it leaves, kind of like your teenager in his bedroom. You know, they close the door, but the mess is still there. Okay, and this is exactly what these plugins are doing. You delete them, they close the door and leave, but they left behind all this crap and the table's still there. And one of the big ones, this started several episodes back. Hemdian pointed us in this right direction, and I've been working on it ever since. It's the auto load options. This is becoming a bigger and bigger problem on WordPress sites, and part of what has brought it to the forefront is in the health checker for WordPress. They've now put a thing in there that tells you if you've got too many auto load options happening. And nobody has much about auto load options out there right now, or how to clean them up effectively and safely. Because the biggest thing is you got to do this safely. Otherwise, you will cause your website to turn into a big crap pile of useless doo-doo. So I'm working through with different different plugins that help you clean the database and help you identify auto load options. And one of the things I found on my site is that a theme that I was using, it had a whole pile of auto load options, probably as much as 300K of auto load options. And that's a hell of a lot of auto load options. They're still there in the database, but that plugin is long gone. That plugin and theme are long gone from my site. They've been deleted months ago, but yet their crap is still in the database. So you got to clean that out, because that crap is still being loaded by the database, even though it doesn't exist.
Does it make it slower if it doesn't, if it's not actually loading to anything that's properly working? It's just random code that's being loaded. Does that make it slower?
It could very well be. I don't know that for certain, but I wouldn't bet against it.
Okay.
You know, but these are the things that I'm discovering as I'm trying to bring a website back from the edge of being really fast to now it's slow as molasses. You know, and it's not the server it's on, because I have other sites on the exact same server that are properly formatted and they run like lightning. So it's not the server, it's the website itself and the database. And your databases, as they get huger, they slow down your website. You have to pay attention to it, because there's tables in these databases that collect data that is irrelevant to what you need to have happen, but yet that data still gets looked at from time to time, and it's in the database. When a query is sent to the database, it's got to sort through all the tables looking for stuff. And if it's got to sort through a million rows of a useless table, it slows everything down. So these are the things. The biggest things I'm finding is, one, you got to clean out useless plugins, clean out useless themes, and then the others, you have to go in and clean up the mess that is in the database. Now, database cleanup is something do not take lightly. Use extreme caution. Make sure you've made a backup with a backup with a backup of your database before you even start messing with your database. Because if you break that and you don't have a backup, you're hooped. You can't undo any changes to the database. Once you make a change to the database, it's permanent. And if you don't have a backup of where you started out from, you can't go back to the beginning. So always make a backup.
Yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking when you're messing around with that.
Yeah, well, that's why before I even start messing with a database, I make a backup and a backup and a backup. And then I also have the other thing is I don't do any of this on my live site. I create a dev site and I do all this on a dev site. And that's always awesome. Make sure, double check, triple check, and quadruple check that you are actually on your dev site. Says you can be on your dev site, and if you have a link that points back to your live site, you could end up on your live site without really noticing. So you got to really constantly check to make sure you're always on your dev site, especially before you change anything. Make sure you're on your dev site before you click that OK button. So those are my tips on that particular items, and there'll be more. I am working on articles again. I'm starting to write more and more content as I used to once upon a time. So you'll see lots of useful things coming from me again as we get ready and we start launching our new website, wppro-a-to-z.com. That it? All we got?
I think so. I was just reading what Hemdian wrote.
Oh.
Apparently, all mammals will go to longer than 24-hour days if not for entraining, syncing to daylight. Not everyone can entrain well.
Yeah.
Well, he and I kind of had a side conversation going about being nocturnal. Like, he seems to have the same issue I have, where my body just always wants to become nocturnal.
Yeah, so does mine. I've had to force the training into me to prevent me from being nocturnal.
Yeah, and he said that like the healthiest time he had was when he was doing like 6 28-hour days per week. Which sounds like an interesting sleep schedule to try. See what kind of productivity you could get from that.
Yeah, don't do it now.
Nope.
Right
now, but
I tried one of those schedules when I was about your age.
Yeah.
It worked very, very well until I got sick.
Oh no.
I
right,
think it lasted for about 6 months, and then I got sick, and I could never get back to it and do it again.
Yeah, it's not good.
So you got to be cautious with those things. There's some really interesting. I was highly productive during that time period, though. The amount of productivity I created, oh God, it was amazing. It was off the scale. So.
All right, well, that is that, and the end of our show.
All right, well, let's have a little music. Carry us on out of here. Off we go.
These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. A quarter after midnight, and I'm watching the wall. Sometimes I feel so uptight, I just can't sleep at all. Every day doing the same old thing, we're losing time. The weekend comes, we gotta have some fun and rewind. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. I feel the rope tightening, choking off our air. We need to grab some lightning. Friday's almost here. Caught in a web, we need to cut this thread we're hanging by. Where is it said you have to be half dead to survive? These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder.
All righty, folks. That's all we got for you now. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Oh my god, that is amazing!
Oh no. Obviously, we just lost the satellite feed.